Well, happy Thanksgiving, Ben.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to you. And we're a little early, but it's never too early to give true thanks. And I have a lot to be thankful for, as I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite holiday.
Is
Uh,
it?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the one that really makes sense.
Giving
All the
thanks and
rest of it
tithing.
is a little bit. There's a little bit of craziness going on, but Thanksgiving is getting together with friends and family and just being grateful for what you have and who you are and who you're with. And
There's
also,
a health benefit to Thanksgiving, even
mm,
though we tend to not tend to, a lot of people will say indulge or overindulge, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But when you activate gratitude, you turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. Part of the body, the part of the nervous system, I should say, is associated with relaxation and strong
mm,
immunity and healthy skin, good digestion, and a strong heart, and healing and growth and repair and anti-aging. All the good stuff is controlled by the parasympathetic nervous system, which is activated by gratitude.
mm.
And we always have something to be grateful for. Even if you're on your deathbed, there's more things going right in your body than going wrong. So there's always something you can focus on that you can feel grateful for. And that's not just going to give you psychological benefits, it's also going to give you physiological benefits. It's not just airy fairy, it's hardcore physiology, lower your blood pressure, improve every single marker of health. Be grateful. And Thanksgiving gives us an opportunity to do that.
Now, when you eat something really delicious,
Yeah.
what does that do in terms of your
Depends on what you mean by
characteristics?
delicious, because delicious is conditioning. Yeah.
Right.
Some people think liver is delicious. I find it repulsive.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that everybody finds palatable because of our
Mm,
hard wiring,
right.
sugar, sweets, that kind of thing. And sugar and sweets, as it turns out, or I shouldn't say, let's say delicious food can be very satisfying. And
Mm,
from a neurochemical perspective, you can activate pleasure sensations and satisfaction sensations. The problem is once that taste disappears, you're back
mm,
to being unsatisfied. And that's why we continuously eat. You have a cup of Ben and Jerry's right here. Take your spoon. You put your spoon in the Ben and Jerry's like this. And as you scoop up that delicious yumminess of strawberry, berry, whatever the heck you're eating,
right.
and you raise that thing to your mouth, all is right in the world. Everything is perfect. No more credit card bills, no more New World Order, no more government, no more children, no more family, boss, all the things that we stress out about. As you're raising that scoop of ice cream, that spoon of ice cream into your mouth, you're activating chemistry of anticipation, of pleasure, of joy, satisfaction, of contentment. You eat the Ben and Jerry's, and you get a quick burst of pleasure,
Mm,
and then it melts. And what do you do next? Go back into the Ben and Jerry's because you haven't sustained that neurochemical bump, that
right.
neurochemistry of pleasure. And that's really the problem with these external means, these external strategies that we use for activating these wonderful hormones of pleasure hormones and satisfaction hormones
Mm,
that God has imbued us with. And so the real trick to activating neurochemistry is to keep it sustained. And the best way to do it, in my humble opinion, is to be mentally, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, and of course, physically healthy. And that's what we talk about here all the time. And so,
right.
today I want to talk about that one of what I consider to be one of the most fundamental and important of the longevity products, even though we don't, it's only a part of a selected packs, the healthy blood sugar pack, and that's the sweeties. And
Mm,
that's a chromium and vanadium product. Chromium and vanadium are two minerals, trace minerals, that are important for blood sugar control. But what I find fascinating about chromium, and this is, by the way, is a very specialized form of chromium that's in the sweeties. I don't know if you know this. It's called chromium nicotinate. And
hmm,
chromium nicotinate, or chromium polynicotinate, technically, is part of the body's glucose tolerance factor,
mm,
GTF. And this glucose tolerance factor is a complex of molecules that's important for activating or potentizing insulin. And potentization of insulin has a couple of benefits. Number one, help you with your blood sugar, and chromium is very important, and vanadium for that matter, are important for blood sugar control. And that's why I recommend people use one or two. They say one on the package, but I use two sweeties after every meal, particularly after sweet meals or meals that are rich in carbohydrates. But you're also going to be strengthening and potentizing insulin so your body doesn't need to secrete as much. That's a really
Huh.
hidden problem. It's a hidden problem when it comes to dysglycemia or messed up blood sugar. Dysglycemia is an issue. You have
Mm.
when your blood sugar is high, it damages the vessels. It makes the blood more sticky.
Mm.
It has a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of problems associated with glycation or elevated blood sugar. And then, of course, you're dealing with high blood sugar, low blood sugar because the body adjusts. And there's issues with the blood sugar itself. And doctors will test for blood sugar. They'll say, "Oh, your blood
Mm.
sugar is high, your blood sugar is low, etc." But here's the problem: you can have normal blood sugar, but high insulin. In other words, your insulin may be
Huh.
the reason why your blood sugar is normal. So the doctor will say, "Oh, your blood sugar is normal. You're fine," but he's not noticing that your insulin is high.
I
When
see.
your insulin becomes high when the cells stop listening to insulin. That's called resistance
Mm.
or insulin resistance. And insulin itself is a problem. Elevated insulin is itself a problem apart from blood sugar. So your blood
Mm.
sugar could be normal, but your insulin could be high. So potentizing or strengthening insulin is an incredibly valuable health strategy for people who are dealing with the problems of insulin resistance, even though they've been told that their blood sugar is normal. Problems such as weight gain or skin problems or,
Mm.
God forbid, cancer or hypertension, or these are all can be related to insulin apart from normal blood sugar. And the doctor can say, "Oh, your blood sugar is normal, but you're dealing with all of these symptoms." You say, "What's going on?" They don't test for insulin. You can't really test for insulin. Insulin is secreted in very tiny amounts, and it's tied in with serotonin and testosterone and
Mm.
estrogen. There's a whole bunch of things that insulin is connected to in a way that blood sugar is not. You can just you can just take some of your blood out and test the blood sugar. That's very easy to do.
Yeah.
But insulin is a lot trickier.
Right.
So
Well, that's in your pancreas and in your duodenum, which is not
the
the most
pancreas is
accessible
the
thing.
pancreas is where it's being made,
Yeah.
but elevated insulin can be associated with a whole slew of problems. Elevated blood sugar is only associated with sugar, with intake of sugar, although to a certain
Right.
extent, cortisol and stress hormones involved. But for the most part, it's an eating disorder. The elevated insulin can be related to a whole bunch of factors, and plus the amount of insulin in the blood is very tiny. There are tests, but they're very expensive. And so
Mm.
doctors tend to not do those tests. But you can still suffer from problems associated with elevated insulin. And this is where the Sweet Eze is so beneficial. The Sweet Eze works by making your insulin stronger, potentizing it, making it more potent, so that you don't have to secrete as much. So not only is it good for blood sugar control, it's also important for insulin resistance. And in fact, one of the ways I use Sweet Eze or recommend Sweet Eze is for dealing with an insulin problem that most people don't recognize as an insulin problem. Even most doctors don't recognize this as an insulin problem. And that is elevated blood cholesterol.
Hmm.
Elevated blood cholesterol is tied into blood sugar and insulin. And by potentizing insulin, we can help the body, we can lower blood cholesterol by helping inhibiting cholesterol production naturally, not by poisoning the cholesterol production system like a statin drug would. Make no
Mm-hmm.
mistake about it. Statin drugs are not the worst drugs in the world. They're relatively mild compared to some of the pharmaceuticals that are out there. Nonetheless, they work by shutting down or poisoning, artificially suppressing cholesterol production. It's never a good idea to do that.
Mm.
By stabilizing insulin or controlling or by preventing insulin resistance, chromium and vanadium have a cholesterol lowering effect that is akin to a statin drug without requiring a drug and getting all kinds of other health benefits, including lowering your blood sugar naturally. So Sweet Eze is anti-cholesterol, and I don't mean by suppressing cholesterol, by controlling cholesterol production, and help stabilize blood sugar. And you get a whole slew of benefits associated with lower blood sugar and lower blood insulin in a safe and non-toxic way. There's also a few other things in the Sweet Eze, including cinnamon. All diabetics should know about cinnamon. Cinnamon makes sugar sweeter. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you can use less sugar in baking, for example,
Mm.
when you add cinnamon, because cinnamon has an amplifying effect on the sweet taste. And so cinnamon has been used for eons for helping improve sweetness in things like apple pies and baked apple and such. But it also has blood sugar stabilizing benefits. And because it makes sugar taste sweeter, you don't need to have as much sugar. There's also something called gymnia in the Sweet Eze. I don't know if you ever heard of gymnia and bitter melon to add to the chromium and vanadium blood sugar stabilizing and anti-insulin effects or insulin stabilizing effects. And lastly, there's also a little bit of niacin in the form of chromium nicotinate. The chromium is attached to niacin in this very exotic form of chromium in the Sweet Eze. And there's also an amino acid called glycine, which is really important for collagen production as well as for detoxification. And as far as the longevity product goes, Sweet Eze is one of the more economical products. You can certainly use 2 or 3 capsules a day, 4 capsules a day, 2 after a meal perhaps, very economically, and most people notice results within a matter of weeks. Results like less cravings for sugar, results like lower blood cholesterol, lower blood triglycerides, and of course, lower blood sugar.
So you sit down, you have your Thanksgiving meal with your friends and family, and
Right?
then after the meal, you have
Two, or if
two.
you're eating a lot on Thanksgiving, you may want to take 3 Sweet Eeze, but certainly you could take 2. There's 120 capsules in a bottle. So if you take 2 a day, that'll last you 2 months. If you take 4 a day, that'll last you 30 days. That'll last you a month. I'd recommend 4 a day at least. Personally, I take 2 after.